I don't know about the rest of you, but I am getting some strong Winter 2021 vibes from the Winter 2025 anime season. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, look at all the sequels. Granted, we don't have nearly as many as were coming out 4 years ago, because that season was insane and it was because of reasons. This doesn't have as many as that, but it does have a lot. We're only going to talk about the ones that I have something to say about, but believe me, this is very much so a season dominated by sequels. That doesn't mean there aren't some interesting new shows, though, which we will also be discussing. So, as always, sit back, relax, and listen to me ramble on about what I am looking forward to from the Winter 2025 anime season. We should probably start off with actually a non-sequel, because it is probably the most talked about show coming out in this upcoming season, and that is Netflix's Sakamoto Days, a well-regarded source material getting an adaptation, one that will be split core, so we'll have half of it now, half of it in July. And yeah, I mean, based on the trailer, it looks pretty good. It looks well animated, it looks bright and colorful, and it's giving me a lot of the same vibes as a show we got this past year, actually, which was The Fable from back in spring. Now, granted, The Fable was a lot darker and more realistic compared to this, which is definitely going for more of a comedic, over-the-top vibe, but the premises are very similar. The idea is you have this guy who was a hitman, and for various reasons is kind of put in a situation where he has to not be a hitman and has to, very specifically, not kill people. Now, in the case of Sakamoto Days, it's a guy who's retired and has gotten older and put on a few pounds and doesn't really give off the impression of still being a capable hitman, but fun fact, he still is, and he kind of does the sort of thing that like Fat Gum does in My Hero Academia, where he will sort of shed all his weight and become really buff whenever he has to fight somebody, you know, as like a last resort if he needs to. Like I said, this is definitely looking to be more colorful, more comedic than something like The Fable was, but I think if you liked the general idea of that show, or at least the premise of it, and the comedic potential of it, you're going to get a lot of that here. It's not going to be the same type of comedy, but I think if you liked the basic idea of The Fable, you'll get a lot of that in here. And I think in general, people are going to like this show because it is well animated, and because it is sort of like a comedic goldmine as a premise, just like I thought The Fable would be, and it generally was. So I am looking forward to this, as is basically everyone else. I don't think we have any confirmation about whether this will be same day sub and dub, because sometimes Netflix does that, and sometimes they don't. We'll just have to wait and see. Nevertheless, if you're looking for non-sequels to watch this season, this is going to be the first thing you're probably going to be expected to look at. So keep it on your radar. As far as other Netflix shows, we're getting the second season of My Happy Marriage, which is a show I liked quite a bit from last year. I know there was some, I wouldn't say controversy, but there were people who lost interest in the show during its second half when it moved away from some of the family dynamic drama and focused more on like the action and the magic and fighting the grotesqueries and stuff like that. I still liked that. I thought that was interesting, and it still did have family drama and backstory for the characters. So it's not like it went away entirely. It's just it was focusing on different aspects of that backstory and different characters from that backstory. So yes, there is a change when you go from the first half to the second half of the first season, but I still thought it was good. And I'm hoping that maybe this season can kind of balance things out a bit better, but I thought it was a very well done romance from last year. One where both characters had flaws, had problems they needed to overcome, and ultimately were able to grow pretty noticeably by the end of the season. You can see that having each other in their lives makes them better people, and I think it really is a very rewarding romance to watch. So I'm hoping that this season will ultimately be just as good, if not better, than the last season. We also have Dr. Stone returning for its fourth and final season, although there's a little bit of an asterisk with that because this final season is being split into 3 split cores. I believe we're getting about 12 episodes now, and then another 11 to 13-ish in the summer, and then a year from now we'll get the rest of it. While some people are probably not going to like that it's dragged out that much, honestly, I'm fine with it because, hey, Dr. Stone is fantastic, and if it takes us a year to get to the end of it, that's fine with me, because this show has genuinely been one of the best shows to come out in the last 5-6 years. The fact that it's actually getting a conclusion, and a conclusion that I know a lot of people are really hyped for, I don't mind that it's going to be broken up and split into 3 cores. If it takes us a year to get to the end, I'm fine with it, because I'm happy we're actually seeing the end to this really fantastic story. More Dr. Stone is always an A+ in my book. We also have the return of the Apothecary Diaries for its second season, not even a year after the first season ended, which is a very pleasant surprise because I wouldn't have thought we'd get more of it so quickly. And I believe it is going to be 2 core, just like the first season. And I mean, I don't think I need to tell you how great the Apothecary Diaries is. It is one of the most well-regarded and one of the best shows to come out from last year. I am very, very happy to see more of this so soon. I'm really curious to see if the plot threads and the mysteries and the conspiracies that were set up, especially towards the end of season 1, will be paid off here, or if it will take even even longer than this season, but I would expect to see some sort of development for that, and maybe we'll see a conclusion to it, maybe we won't. I don't know exactly where the source material is, how long it is, if it's over, still going, but honestly, just getting to see more of Mao Mao and more of her interactions with the other characters is enough. That is a treat and a delight, and getting more of that so soon is fantastic. Another show coming back relatively quickly after this previous season is 100 Girlfriends. And I believe we're getting like 5 new girlfriends in this season, apparently. So it's going to give us 11 by the end of it. So we're getting there. This, of course, was a very pleasant surprise from last year. A show that, based on the premise, should not have been good, and yet it was very well done. A show that really went all in on the premise and somehow made it work. It's really charming, really enjoyable, and really funny as well. It's one that if you didn't give a chance to when it came out in fall of last year, I really, really implore you to check it out. You will like it a lot more than you are expecting to, because I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to, and I think most people liked it a lot more than they were expecting to. So I guess the real question is, how long will it take us to get to 100? If we're getting like 5 or 6 every season, I guess that would mean we'd need like 20 seasons. I don't know if that's going to happen. But, we are getting there little by little. You could debate whether this one is technically a sequel or not, because it sort of is, but it also sort of isn't. And that is Sorairo Utility. Most people have probably never heard of this, but this show originally had an OVA at the end of 2021, I believe, that was like 15-ish minutes long, and it's basically just 3 girls golfing. But what made it stand out to me was the visuals and the pacing, and the fact that it very much so evoked those relaxing feelings that I get out of other iyashikei, atmospheric slice of life type shows. So I would consider that OVA an iyashikei, an atmospheric slice of life relaxing experience, where it focuses on the backgrounds, everything is timed well, and it generally is trying to make you chilled out. I am very hopeful that this full season will be able to continue that. Now, because this is a show about golfing, it is a sports anime, there is a part of me that is concerned simply because I have been burned many times by sports anime. That's not to say I am incapable of liking them. There are plenty of ones that I do, but I am maybe a little bit worried that a full season of this will focus a little too much on the technical aspect of golf and not as much on the actual let's go out and golf and focus on the visuals. It sort of would remind me of like what a Manchu did, another iyashikei, in its first season, where it promised all of this nice ocean visuals and diving and stuff like that. And while it is very much so a show about learning how to scuba dive, the first season is more of like, oh, let's learn all this technical stuff, let's go to the pool and stuff like that. And you don't really get a lot of the let's actually go in the ocean and get these nice ocean visuals until like the end of season 1 and mostly in season 2, which is why I think season 2 is better than season 1 of Manchu. There is a little bit of a concern on my part that might be what this show ends up doing too. I hope not, and I would think that like with golfing, like obviously you're gonna have to be outside to golf, right? So I would think that wouldn't happen, but in the back of my mind, I am a little bit worried that this may not live up to what my hopes of it are based on the original OVA, but I'm hoping that it will do what I want. And just because it involves sports doesn't mean like it would inherently be a bad iyashikei. I mean, Amanchu, of course, technically involves a sport. Slow Loop from a few years ago is a fishing anime, but it's also still an iyashikei. So like, it's not like those are mutually exclusive. So I'm hoping it will work out. And while I don't think a lot of people are going to have this on their most anticipated list, I don't think many people are even aware that this original OVA came out a few years ago, but I am personally really looking forward to this and hoping that it will be a nice, solid, relaxing, well-constructed iyashikei. Thank you so much for watching. As always, like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And until next time, take care, everyone. Look forward to the next video.